I think we omitted talking about the pandemic in the podcast I did with Paulie, but maybe give us a little bit more insight as to what was happening during that time because um, I have I remember Paulie talking about it in a different show, but maybe you can enlighten me and remind me.
Well, I mean, the bottom line was obviously, New York City was sort of an epicenter. It was really very bad here, and everything was shut down. All restaurants were shut down. I mean, we weren't even allowed to have outdoor dining here
Oh,
until July. So that was March to July, we were completely closed. Luckily, we had our slice shop in operation, and
mm,
that really saved us because we closed everything indoor there and we had takeout and delivery. We opened up a window just for takeout, which we didn't have before. So we
mhm.
pivoted, as we say, and that was a word Paulie and I couldn't stand anymore. Um, but really, that business saved us because I look back on the last few years and I say, I'm not sure if we didn't have that, if we would still be in business.
Wow,
I'm,
it was
I'm
that
really,
close.
I'm really not sure because if you shut down totally and you have nothing to offer, um, what are you going to do? I mean, yeah, we did get some PPP money, but that was much later on. I mean, that wasn't something that happened right away. That was something you had to apply for. It was a real process, and that also helped in the long run. But it was challenging. It was just very challenging. And so what I tried to do that where there was so much uncertainty and we were home a lot was to just build myself up physically and mentally. Now, I use that time to do that. I know a lot of other people use the time to eat and drink like crazy. But I mean, Paulie also cooked a lot, which was great. We hadn't had that many meals together in a number of years. So there was some wonderful things from it. But the bottom line is I use that time to just try to build myself up in every way that I could because I knew that I had to mentally be prepared because if I was going to fall apart and lose it, he wasn't going to make it. You know what I'm saying? When you're in a relationship, it's if you're both down in the bottom, you're not going to make it. There's
Yeah,
usually one or the other that's pulling the other person up. And if you're in a
right.
strong relationship, you know those moments.
Yeah,
And like I said,
yeah.
we had been together a very long time. So I had to, I couldn't get hysterical. I mean, there were days I really wanted to be hysterical, but I just couldn't. I mean, in private, I could do whatever I wanted, but I didn't need to let other people know that. And it was rough. I mean, it was very rough on me. And, to put everything in your life like that we did for 10 years, we put everything into it. And then to just turn around and it's completely shut down. And even just to walk in there and there was nothing going on. I mean, it was very hard for him. I know it was very hard for him. It was very hard for me also. Um, and then just not to be seeing the people, like everybody dispersed. We were told like on that Monday, um, you have to close at 8 o'clock. We thought we were going to be allowed to be open that night. So employees didn't even get to say goodbye to each other. It was just really, I had to go in the next day and throw food out. I didn't have anybody that could go in there. I had to do that. So it was challenging. But every day I got up, I did yoga or I did exercise. I'm very spiritual. I read readings every morning. I mean, I have like a routine for myself. But I really ramped it up like during the pandemic. I just had to because we couldn't lose what we had worked so hard for. I mean, I had a few people really sort of insinuate to me, like, why don't you just like pack it in now? You know? And it was tempting. I tell you, it was tempting at the time. And of course, when I said something to my husband, he said, well, I'm going down with the ship. So I said, well, I guess I'm going down with you. I mean, what am I going to do? I mean, we've been together. Like I knew he wasn't going to, like not try. But after the second time of reopening, because we closed twice and had to rehire twice, Um, it was a rough time because it was the winter and people weren't still coming inside. People were very afraid, even though we were doing all the protocols the city asked us to do. We always did everything. We had plexiglass. I mean, we just did everything. Um, there were nights that we would be open and we weren't even making enough money for salary that night, you know, but it was okay, because I just said, we can't close again. I said to him, we can't, because I can't do it again. I was finally at that point. I said, I just don't think I have it in me. I can't go through this again. And so whatever it was, we stayed open those months, even though we weren't getting a lot of people, and it was very slow and it was very quiet, um, to just stay open, to be a presence. And I feel like people also in the community were looking to us in a sense. Like, I felt like if we didn't do it, who was going to do it? Because
Right.
everybody that knows us knows that we're really like headstrong and we have a lot of perseverance. Um, so, I'm glad that we did. And during that time, what also kept me going was the fact that we did do a lot for the healthcare workers in New York. We did do a lot. I'm very proud of that. And that really got me out of bed every day because I had people calling me, how can we help? Because they would buy the pizzas from us and we would send it to a hospital. Sometimes we just gave it on our own anyway. If somebody requested it, we didn't have a sponsor. I was always in awe of people that called me, friends of mine, their kids called me and said, how can we help you? Other people you didn't hear a word from, but I was always, in awe of that they thought of somebody else besides themselves at that point. How can we help? Can we do anything for the healthcare workers? We even had a man, a nurse, who drove up from Georgia, and he ended up staying in our apartment that was vacant at the time. Through the middle of the night, he was an intensive care nurse to help out in New York. So I was just so in awe of the healthcare people and what they do and how underappreciated they are because it is really rough. And so we did do a lot of that. And I really felt good about that. And that really kept me going. I had like a purpose, like to get up every day and to help somebody else and to get out of my own head and my own pity party. Because that's what I say to people. You have to get out of your own head. You have to get
Mm.
out of your own head. It's critical, you know, because if you stay there too long, it's not a good place. But if you're helping somebody else and you feel like somebody's benefiting maybe from the pain that you're going through, like I felt like in the end, it was probably all worth it. It was okay. That's just the way I think.
That was probably one of the best stories I've heard all year.
Oh, really?
Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm happy to share.